Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it's time to have a look at some esports news, or some tournament news, more like. So, in War Thunder, if you didn't know, there is a competitive scene. This competitive scene revolves around these rating leaderboards, which were just introduced, maybe a month ago, maybe less. But basically, at the end of the day, the tournaments that you see happening every weekend, if you win or lose them, you gain points or lose points, depending on how well you do in them. And therefore, this will put you into distinct brackets. So what they're going to do at War Thunder is create leagues and divisions around this. At this moment in time, we're looking at 3 War Thunder leagues, and the idea is to have a top league, a middle league, and a bottom league. So the bottom league for newcomers, the mid league for semi-pros, whatever you want to call it, and then the top league for the best of the best. And the way they're going to do this is through the idea of time. So, as you can see, this is basically the key little phrases here. So, over the period of 3 months, they are going to set up 3 divisions at the start of it, which have a certain range of rating based off this leaderboards here, which are available for aviation, ground, fleet, and mixed. And they're going to create 3 leagues. So you got the Bronze, War Thunder League 3, Silver, War Thunder League 2, and Gold, War Thunder League 1. Now, at this moment in time, all it has talked about is the prizes being Golden Eagles per season. But it does talk about, at the end of said season, there will be some kind of special competition to work out who are the best players at the end of the season. And nothing has really been talked about there when it comes to whether it's going to be monetary, whether it's going to be vehicles, whether it's just going to be more GE. Hopefully, in my opinion, it should just be GE. And I'll get into my opinions of this stuff later on down, but I'm just kind of explaining what this is. So, the idea is to try and promote more people getting into the competitive scene and not feel as bad when you get hammered by people who have been playing for over 5 years in this tournament aspect. So you can, when you join the system, when you play one of the tournaments, you will be put at 1,000 rating, and this will put you slap bang in the middle of the Silver War Thunder League 2, and as you lose games, you'll either go down to Bronze, or if you gain games, you'll go up to the War Thunder League 1. And the basic way of seeing this is if you do well in each division, you can bag yourself a bunch of GE. And as I said, they are splitting it into seasons. Each season is 3 months, or at least that's what we're seeing now. The first season is going to start at the end of March, it seems, but you work out which league you want to be put in by the fact that, all of the tournaments leading up to the end of March. You can read it here. So each season consists of weekly stages and runs for 3 months. At the end of each season of the War Thunder League, there will be a special stage of grand finals where winners of the season will be determined. And then it talks about how people can register and also where they start playing. Now, also on top of this, you have 3 separate divisions on 3 separate servers. You have some on the American, some on the European server, and then some on the Russian server. So if you're worried about, actually competing, then these are the servers that you got to look at. You basically got to pick one that you want to play on and go from there. It hasn't really talked about how if you can go to 2 separate servers and play in different leagues, but it's a little bit, well, I'm guessing we'll see closer to the time if that is going to be confirmed or not. So on top of this, you got the rules for the War Thunder League. So the basic rules of the War Thunder League are regulated by rules of the individual tournaments of the ongoing season, because as I said, it's over a 3-month period with each week's having a bunch of tournaments. You can see even the Bronze League has 200 tournaments on it. The Silver one has more than 250, and the Gold has over 250. So you're talking about what is that? Over 3 months, let's say it's around 250. You're talking about what is that? 80 or just like 85 tournaments, something like that per month. So that's crazy. You're talking, let's just say 80 divided by 4. That's 20 tournaments a week split across different game modes. So you've got 1 versus 1s, 2 versus 2s, and 4 versus 4s. So you're looking at about maybe 10 each bracket stage per week. That's a lot of stuff going on. It sounds completely crazy to me. But anyway, I suppose if you split it up by server, maybe maybe then you get it down to like 3 or 5, something like that, which would make a lot more sense, especially if you're somebody who doesn't want to take this as seriously as others and be able to play in every single tournament. But what they're doing is expanding the esports part of War Thunder, which I generally think is good because it gives players more ways of experiencing a different part of the game, kind of like what they're doing with the squadron stuff right now, expanding the community aspect of it. And I think overall this is a really good idea, to be honest. I think overall I like this idea because it means that you as an individual are able to get your hands on some GE, experience a different part of the game if you're already not part of the competitive scene. And if you are part of the competitive scene, then it gives you another avenue to make some GE and maybe get your name out there, which I think is good. Now, does this system have downsides? Yes, but they're pretty much the same as the downsides I've gone through before. So let's go through them again, and hopefully we can find some answers for them, because you don't throw more money at a problem to fix it. And yes, technically this is more money. They are distributing more GE into the ether, and what this is doing is making it so the individual person is, gaining GE, so maybe they wouldn't spend their own money on the game, right? It's as simple as that. But anyway, let's go through some of the problems I see with the system, and hopefully ones that can be resolved. The first and biggest one is whenever you set up a league structure like this, like a Division 1, 2, and 3, and the prizes are not equal. Obviously, you can get more prizes of Golden Eagles per season in the gold one, but if you're a player who's like, well, I'm really good at the game, but I'm, let's say, 4th best, or I think I'm 4th or 5th best, why don't I just smurf and sit myself in silver or bronze, where I know I can actually get more GE through those than I can through the top bracket, right? And there's less competition, I don't have to work as hard, and I can go to the grand finals, I can get my name out there, and then maybe next time, I actually put myself into a different bracket. The problem with smurfing in this regard is that it ruins the new player experience for pretty much the people that you want in. The whole point of the system is to bring new people in. The ratings system and the competitive side of War Thunder is not huge. We can see this either through views that it gets, through live streams that it gets, through the fact that nobody in the community knows any of the top guys. Like, one of the things which is a key element to other esports, whether it be League of Legends, CSGO, even smaller ones like StarCraft nowadays, which is definitely smaller. Then you've got stuff like Rainbow Six Siege. You have personalities when it comes to their esports teams, or even, let's say, Fortnite, right? People know people who play Fortnite esports or other games like that. Or even Hearthstone, which the scene is slowly but surely dying. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you need personalities. There is not a huge part of the community who knows who any of these people are. And you've got one guy, Goggy, or Gogig, 88, who is top of all of the ground vehicles ones. I bet you 99.9% of the community have no idea who this person is. And that's because there is no personality behind the name. There's no interviews, there's no streams, there's no recordings, really, that you can go and see. Same with the aviation guys. And for me, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for those individuals to get the damn names out there, right? Because throwing more money at a problem only works so much. It is as simple as that. Throwing more money at something works in the very, very short term. If you need to get something finished really quickly, it means that you can get a bunch of people on board and they can sit down and knuckle down and finish whatever project you have. But if you just have a sinkhole of money, which you find with a lot of these esports companies, I'm looking at you, Overwatch League, I'm looking at you, other massive conglomerations which just live off VC funding. Immortals back in the day was very similar to that. So is MIBR, which is their new brand. The fact is, at the end of the day, that eventually runs out, right? Now, in War Thunder, we have it a lot more small scale, and it is all coming from the developer. There is no teams based around this, there is no salaries, there is no actual money, and therefore I can see this being a first step into that. But the problem is, all esports that we've seen, which have been propped up by the company behind the game instead of by the community around it. So we can look at Heroes of the Storm, for an example. We can look at Hearthstone. We can look at the one which was a success was definitely League of Legends, so that should be seen as a counter to this argument. But then we have Overwatch, which is nowhere near the numbers that it should be to actually justify the buy-in that was there for it. What you need to make esports sustainable, at least in some way, is a following of players, is a following of teams, is names getting out there, is brands that people understand, and independently run tournaments. It's as simple as that, and I don't see any of that with War Thunder right now. And maybe it gets there, maybe sponsors come in, maybe, we on the Tech Hub could do something which would be similar to this. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's just a big pain to get anything rolling. It's a big, big issue to be able to, get stuff rolling because there isn't the ground there. And the only place it can come from is the people who want to compete in this. And if people just want free GE out of it, by competing, fair enough, go ahead with it. But if you have more grandiose plans, which seems to be the building blocks of this War Thunder League, you're gonna need more people to actually, advertise, I think is the best way of putting it. Now, from the player's point of view, I've talked about smurfing. The other one is alt accounts. As we've seen, there are going to be 3 separate servers running at different times. The times between America and Europe are very similar, right? You're talking on the US server from, is that 10 p.m. to 2? Oh, that's a UTC. Okay, fair enough. But these times are very close to each other. So you could easily have people smurfing, well, not smurfing, but alt accounting across tournaments, right? So instead of, once again, like I said before, if you are the 5th best player in gold, and you're not going to get that top prize, and you're not going to get all of the golden eagles, then you could just alt account it into silver and just sit there, or you could compete with 2 accounts at the same time in different servers. And I actually asked about this in the comments. I said, what are your plans on stopping people smurfing or using alt accounts to play in separate brackets? I think this is a massive concern. It's an issue with any system like this. And Zerba, who is the head of the esports part of War Thunder, says, we plan to check the complaints about players using alternative accounts in different divisions. In the case that someone would try to abuse the system, they can be banned from the tournaments forever. Right, so this already tells me they won't be banned from the game. They will only be banned from tournaments. So people will try this. And something that I will talk about is I have talked to many members of this esport community. I've spent a few months now trying to talk to a ton of them about trying to get something grassroots off the ground which isn't run by Gaijin. This would be tournaments for them. This would be some interesting ideas for them which aren't just, one-on-ones or two-on-two. Something interesting to watch instead of just duels. And all I found is that everybody is okay with alt accounting and people believe that you can't stop smurfing. You can. It's very, very easy to do, and it is through honesty. And if you don't want to do it through honesty, you have to do it through IPs. This comment here just tells me that the community, which is okay with alternate accounts, is just not going to report each other. because you are putting it onto the players in order to report these alternate accounts. And the people that I've talked to who are high up in this scene don't care about alt accounts. So that ain't going to work. All you're going to do is get a lot of annoyed players who are going to report accounts who they believe are cheating. That's it. So I think there has to be a fundamental look at this idea, and instead of just hoping that people will do the best thing possible or be the most honest, you've got to make sure that at the end of the day, with all of this stuff, that for God's sake, you've got to stop these things. Because the first thing that cripples anybody new coming into the War Thunder League idea is if they run into a bunch of Smurfs or alt accounts. It's as simple as that. Because their first initial experience is going to be so bad that they're not going to want to play anymore. And you need to make sure that initial experience is good. The other thing that I still don't think has been shown to me, still nobody has taken up the reins or the challenge or whatever you want to call it. I have not seen any independent people or even Gaijin themselves get the numbers for live streaming or through sponsorships or through YouTube views to in any way pay for this, right? Imagine if this was money, or imagine, because it technically is for Gaijin, imagine if at the end of these 3 months where they have this grand tournament, there is either money on offer, or there is rare vehicles which could be couponed and sold on the market, right? Something like that. Technically, that's all money at the end of the day. Now, I have not seen the people interested, even just by views on videos, right? Even views on my own videos. It's very easy for me to look at analytics, to look at what people want to watch. First of all, people like ground stuff. Then they like news articles. Then they like aircraft stuff. Then they like naval stuff, and then right at the back is tournament stuff. People are generally not interested in this, and nobody is making an effort to get people interested in it. One thing that will not shock you from what words I've said today is if you actually have a look at this system. So we just go back here. Just remember, the overall War Thunder community is massive, right? Especially in air RB and ground RB. It is, tens of thousands of players, tons of players every week. For the aircraft RB, since the system started, there's been 661 people in aircraft RB tournaments. Let's have a look at ground vehicles. And if you play one tournament, remember, it's actually, it shows up. So these are just people who have participated in tournaments since the rating system has been put in. So for ground vehicles, you can see there's more, right? We're up to 1,100. That's grand. Oh, 1,000, around 1,200 people. That is such a small community to be able to target with such a large, grandiose idea. So I'm hoping that they're looking for massive expansion, or I just don't understand how a system like this pays for itself. Because you're seeing it, as I said, you're seeing it as GE, you're seeing it as not worth anything. At the end of the day, if there's more GE in supply, then it becomes less worth it for the individual, right? Especially if that individual was going to pay money for something, but they got it for, through these tournaments. Yeah, so you just, make sure to try and get that in your head. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just GE, they can just print it. Technically, yes, but at the end of the day, with any currency, the more you print, the less valuable it is. I know it may make... I'll go into the economics of it at some point. I'm not going to do it in this video, because technically it's on an individual basis, there's more to it, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I don't see the coverage. I don't see the people interested. Even from our independent tournaments. We had a really great tournament last month, and it did ace. It got a lot of viewers, people were interested, but it wasn't the jewel stuff. When somebody shows me a stream or a tournament which gets a good viewer base, which gets people interested in the personalities, then I'll start believing in this. I still haven't seen it yet. I still haven't seen anybody bother with it yet. All I see is people going, Gaijin, make something. Well, they've made something now. Are you going to promote it? Are you going to advertise it? Are you going to do something about it? Come on. This is your opportunity. Just like I said before with the partnership program idea, which they've put down here, which I still haven't been told any criteria for, by the way. I asked for criteria. What do you actually get out of it? What do you need to be part of it? I haven't been told. I got told I would be contacted. Nobody has. So for the love of Christ, this is the opportunity people have been looking for. And if there's no coverage of this from independent creators, if there's no content revolving it, if there's no personalities coming out of it, then all I can say is the same thing I've been saying for about, 5 years, 6 years at this point? The competitive scene is nothing. It isn't. And it can't grow because nobody wants to lay the bricks. Prove me wrong. I'll catch you next time. I'd just like to thank Blackie for the support on Patreon.